Tell me a little bit about the early years of Audio Adrenaline, kind of the creative side, how once you guys, finally made that group and said, these are the guys that we have, and you guys started making music. Tell me a little bit about the whole beginning of that whole process.
Sure, yeah. Well, when we first started, Forefront Records was our label. They wanted us to be the next DC Talk. They wanted us to be the rock version of DC Talk, a hybrid of hip-hop and like metal and rock and all this stuff. So we our first record is kind of this weird, experimental, bizarre thing. We don't really tell people to buy our stuff.
Wait, let me do this real quick, because I'm going to show you how much lyrically Audio Adrenaline has grown, because I want you to just recite some of the lyrics from We're a Band. Just give them a little bit of the lyrics of what they say.
Dude, We're a Band is powerful. You need to do.
I got one.
Come on, do it.
Bop, bang, boom, pow. Kill somebody, then take a bow. Naughty word, mouthful of potty words. Mark Stewart right there, baby. And that's probably Bob Herdman.
I thought this was a tribute.
So tell me a little bit more what you were getting into on the early days.
All right, so we would go in and sit in a meeting. This dude named Ron Griffin was our A&R, and he would just take our stuff and throw it over his desk. This is terrible. What do you do? Get out of here. But we thought we'd ruin our lives, So we finally made this record. People bought it. We went on tour with Jeff Moore, which was an exciting thing. We saw the country for the first time. And we said, you know what? I think we can do this. Meanwhile, our record company's about to drop us.
Wow.
Toby Mac would talk to me. He said, man, you need to keep this band because they're good. So they let us do one more record. Right? So we go back into the studio, and we're like, you know what? We're going to make a record that's more like a rock band. This is American rock band. Let's just make it happen. One of the songs on there that none of us really liked was a song called Big House. And we're like, this song's terrible, man. It's so goofy. It's about football and heaven. And this is childish stuff.
He threw it over his head, too.
And then my dad's like, oh, my gosh, this is a hit. You guys have to do this. This is going to be a big song. And I'm like, really? You think so? He's like, yeah. So I remember him saying this. We're like,
and your dad doesn't really have too much musical knowledge, does he?
No, he's pretty good. I mean, he's like, that's the reason I got into music. He's a lot better at music than me.
He can hold his own on a juice hard.
No. So we put this record out called Don't Censor Me. And Big House was the first single, and it blew up. And all of a sudden, we were selling 15,000 units a month, shipping them. I mean, the record label was like, now you're at 20,000. I mean, they were freaking out. And stuff started happening, and that became our career song. And then after that, we went on tour with DC Talk. I remember the first time on the Free at Last tour, doing a show in front of like maybe 17,000 people, like the Palace in Detroit, where the Pistons play. And to hear 17,000 people, when you're just starting off, sing a song, I mean, take over the arena. You're like, wow, God's doing something incredible. And that's kind of how we got our career was because of that song. So,
hey guys, welcome back to Real Videos. Audio Adrenaline is here, and right now I want to just talk a little bit. We're talking about them, they're beginning and they're coming into the industry and now exiting out and everything in between. I want to talk a little bit because I know you guys, man, just personally knowing you guys as friends, you guys are on the road and have been on the road non-stop. I mean, for years and years and years and years. People always tell me, they're like, man, T-Bone, you're busy. I'm like, me? I'm like, look at you guys. You guys are on 10 times as much as I am, Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit because I know you guys must have some great memories. You've had some good times, some bad times. Tell me a little bit about some of the memories being on the road, 20 years, that you guys, just moments that are special to you, moments that may be funny, that were hilarious, maybe some historical facts, whatever you guys want to share.
I was just telling somebody the other day, it was funny because I started the very first day, like my third show with Audio was the very first day of the Jesus Freak Tour, which still to this day is the largest Christian rock tour to ever go out. It was all like sold out, huge NBA arenas. And I remember like halfway through that tour, I was 19 years old, and I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be my career, the rest of my life. All arenas, catered. Everything. This is how it's going to be. So it's pretty neat. And then as soon as we got done with that tour, we did, that was kind of set us up as like playing nighttime at some of these big festivals. It's not, it's not the headliner, but you're still and then we went right from there to Signs of Life with Stephen Curtis Chapman. So there was a 4-year block there where Audio did the Free at Last tour. with DC Talk and Out of Eden, I think.
Yeah.
And then we did Jesus Freak Tour with Audio Adrenaline, DC Talk, and then Signs of Life Tour was Carolyn Aaron's Audio Adrenaline, Stephen Curtis Chapman. And then the next tour was our first headlining tour with the Supertones, Some Kind of Zombie Tour, and that was probably my favorite tour just because of the band camaraderie, and I feel like it was, we were really stepping out there being the headlining act, and it was Jennifer Knapp, the Supertones, and Audio Adrenaline, and it was right when all three of our careers were just really taking off. So it was just a really fun time to be around. It was really neat. We didn't play the huge arenas that DC Talk got to, but we played a lot of really neat theaters, and it was just, so we went, there was a 4-year span where we were out on the road, I think, like 180 to 200 days a year, and that'll wear you out. That's where these wrinkles come from.
That's amazing, man. Will, what about you? Some special moments in your life touring?
Oh, I remember, I think definitely the 2 DC Talk tours were just, have amazing memories looking back on those. Just how God used both all the bands on those tours to really affect like a generation of young Christians, that they could, go out there and be bold for Christ, and just the numbers that were showing up and really feeling like you were a part of something, just really like a big movement almost.
Yeah.
And just the crazy things that happened on a DC Talk show was just insane. They had people doing flips and all kinds of junk. And, K-Max would get kicked in the mouth, and he would miss a few, Mark would have to sing for him, and just nutsy stuff like that. So a lot of the road stories are just hilarious to look back on now, and we were just punks. And
I'll tell you a good road story. When we first started, even up until the Jesus Freak Tour, through the Jesus Freak Tour, we were so frugal that we didn't have a tour bus. We had a Ryder truck, 24-foot Ryder truck.
This is what I want to hear about.
We put a wall, and there were 2x4s. We put the gear in the back, and we built bunks in the front with foam pads. We didn't have a door. We had a toilet. We peed in Gatorade bottles.
My parents were so worried. I was 19, living in this box truck and the tour was halfway started through the winter. So we're sliding through the streets of Detroit in this little box truck, and you can't even talk to the driver. You have to use a CB to talk to the driver, and usually he's a little mad at us.
Okay, so we end up at this show at Six Flags in Atlanta, right? We wake up, really, we didn't wake up. People woke us up like, get out of the truck, get out of the truck. We're like, we'd all been carbon monoxide poisoned.
You have got to be kidding me.
We had to have ambulances come.
What?
Yeah. Our guitar player at that time was Barry Blair, a little guy, weighed like $105, and he about died. We're all backstage in oxygen.
This is great. I love Christian music. That's great. Let's do a show.
So that night we had to go do a show. And seriously,
so you guys almost died.
Yeah, we almost died. At that point, what we did was shift. We got rid of the gasoline engine and got a diesel engine. It was better. But for a while, we bought a carbon monoxide tester and hung it up on the wall. And it was just like this all the time. We're like, this thing will not go off. We thought it was broke, and eventually we're like, well, just leave the window open, because it was continually kind of carbon monoxide. But we didn't know what else to do. We didn't have any monies at the time, so that was one of the times we were like, wow, this is life or death out here.
Let me ask you this real quick. How was your show, because touring all these years, how was your show grown? Because, I mean, obviously, first when group started as just a band, then they start adding maybe some pyro stuff. Then you guys bought some CO2. Yeah, CO2. Then you guys have stuff that shoots out to the crowd. How was your show changed throughout the years?
Well, we've always been a band that likes to hype it up. A lot of flash, a lot of, hooks and stuff, but I think we realized about halfway through our career, 3/4 of the way through our career, that was all cool, and you got to entertain people. But at the same time, I think what we learned was how to really take people to the throne, and to have a show that was anointed, where Will would talk and people's lives would be changed. I would share with the church about how to, relate to the third world and come to the rescue of the people in need, orphans and widows. And that is, I think what sets Audio Adrenaline apart from the early years today, or the last, at least 10 years of our career. We really feel like we wanted people to go away, sweaty and like, well, that was great, but more than more than anything else to feel like they've had an experience with God. And you know, that was our goal, and that's why we make records, and that's why we did what we did, was to introduce people to Jesus. And music is the most incredible tool to do that with.
That's awesome. Well, guys, stay tuned. We're going to be back. We're going to just call this segment The Life and Times of Audio Adrenaline. So stay tuned. We'll be right back right here on Real Videos.